about how everybody I know experiences tremendous pain. As a therapist for so many years, as a teacher for so many years, I know that pain is democratic and everybody's life is painful. There is no one who escapes pain. So this one woman, this is a Buddhist story, this one woman went to the Buddha because her son was about to die. And no, the son had already died, and she wanted the Buddha to bring him back to life, something like that. So the Buddha, in all his wisdom, said, I will bring your son back to life. Does the camera, oh, sorry, yes. How do I turn the camera around? Hold on. There you go. So this woman went to the Buddha saying, bring my son back to life because my son has died and I cannot take this grief. So the Buddha, in all his wisdom, said, I will bring your son back to life, but I want you to go to get me a mustard seed, some mustard seeds. So the woman said, sure. But he said, you can only get the mustard seeds from a house which has not experienced any death. So off she went looking for the mustard seeds. The mustard seeds were easy to get, but every time she knocked on the door looking for a house that had not yet experienced death, she couldn't find anyone. So she went to house after house after house looking for one house that could give her the mustard seeds. You know, mustard seeds are very common in India, really easy to get. But she couldn't find anyone that had not experienced death. Every house had experienced death. It took her a long time to figure out, oh, the Buddha wants me to understand that there is no being, no life, no household, no family that has not experienced tragedy, not experienced death. And when she got it, she came back to him and said, I understand. I haven't surrendered. I thought this was only happening to me. And I did not realize that every household experiences the terminality of life and death. So the point of this story, and it's a very famous fable in Buddhism called the mustard seed. The point of it is that none of us can escape the turmoil of life. Every one of us, in some way or the other, will experience some big trauma. Some will experience it in their childhood. Some will experience it in their marriage. Some will experience it in their job, in their bodies, in their disease. It doesn't matter. So if you are sitting there feeling that you are experiencing some trauma, experiencing some special kind of pain, then you need to understand that you are not alone, because it's each person that feels that they are unique, that they have been picked, that they are a victim, that they are especially unlucky. But it's not true. You know, as a therapist, I have only seen thousands of families and thousands of people, and each one has experienced equivocal trauma. There is not one person who doesn't experience unequivocal trauma. But each one thinks that they're the only one, you see. So because I have seen so many, a plethora, a panoply of people over the decades, I can tell you that everyone gets it. So if you're sitting there alone, feeling that you're really, particularly in your own special, unique pain, no one has experienced your pain before. Nobody has a child like yours. Nobody is in a marriage like yours. This is not true. Yes, yours is unique to you, but it isn't special. Every human life experiences so many reverberations. People look at me and they think, oh, she must be really whatever the projection of the day is. And let me tell you that it's not true. I experience turmoil, I experience pain, I experience ostracism, ridicule. I mean, look, even here on the chat, I'll experience judgment, right? It's all universal. Life is universally traumatic. It is by nature unpredictable, right? And because of its unpredictability, there is no person who will not escape it, right? One of my friends had a relative who did not die in 9/11, but was on about to board the plane, but something happened and they did not die that day, but they were supposed to. Well, a year and a few months later, they died in a traffic accident. So it doesn't matter. We think we are lucky if we have a special favor with God, a special hotline to the heavens, that we will be exempt. Each one of us wants to be exempt. But there are no exemptions here. This is the thing. There is no special clause where you get to be off what is called life. Because with life comes pain. So this is just the way it is. So there are no exemptions. There are no special favors. You're unique, but not special. And until we can embrace that, and until we can go, here I am sitting, believing that I'm the only one going through this. There is no one else who can understand me. While you're right, no one can understand you through your unique blood tissue, blood vessels, your unique intellect. How can we? We can't step inside your body. The other day I told my daughter that I understood her when she was upset with me, and she checked me. She said, "Don't say you understand me. You can never understand me." I was like, "You're right. I can't ever understand you completely, but I can understand some sort of experience given my life experience." So each one of us wants to be understood, yet we have to understand no one can ever have that unique experience. But ubiquitously, universally, we all know pain. We all have been rejected by somebody. We have all known heartbreak to some degree. We have all lost something or someone valuable. It could go in degrees. So there is no one person who gets the special stake on pain. Neither is there a person who gets the special exemption. You may think, wow, I've escaped pain. I must be a really amazing person. I must have done great deeds in my past life, or I'm so good and virtuous. Not true. The universe doesn't count how many favors you have done and how many things you've done in your life. It doesn't work like, it's not a debit credit, tally. People like to think it is. Religions like us to believe it is, so we keep upping the credit. But it's really not that thought out. At the end of the day, we are part of this inexplicable cause and effect. What happens to the butterfly, to the grasshopper, to the snail, to the orangutan, to you. Right? We don't know how you're going to be interacting with all these effects. The human mind likes to believe in good and bad. So if I have a lot of good, I'll escape disease. It doesn't work like that. That's how the masses are controlled to be good. Because if we're good, we'll get a really special place in heaven. Okay, great. If it keeps you being good, do it. But the universe works on natural laws of cause and effect. The universe doesn't see your death as a bad thing. The universe doesn't understand, poverty and wealth. The universe doesn't care if your Prada shoes gave you an ankle twist. It is what it is. It's cause and effect and cause and effect. There is no good and bad. We, the human mind, have created good and bad. For the universe, everything technically is good because it just is. So when we begin to understand that pain is in the needle of the tapestry of life, it is the needle through which the tapestry of life is sewn, right? You can have bright colors, but there will be pain. And as long as we keep trying to avoid pain, we will be in a big quagmire when we are faced with it, as opposed to the resilience that is needed when we are in it, the resilience of acceptance, of surrender. It just wasn't meant to be. It wasn't a match. This is not the time. At another time, I release control. When we begin to have this approach to life, which is really an approach of complete grace, of understanding that even though this doesn't look good for me, this doesn't look redemptive, it looks sinister, it looks evil, it looks bad, bad, bad. I don't want the cancer, I don't want the death, I don't want the loss. Even though it looks like that, if we do not develop or adapt to an understanding that this is really okay, I can survive it, I can do this, this is for my good, it's for my evolution. If we don't see it like that, and we keep resisting it, then what happens is that our pain expounds, it multiplies, it exponentializes. So we have only two choices: to fight it. And how do we fight it? Through victimhood, martyrdom, thinking we're unlucky, we're the only ones, and therefore we get depressed, we get unhappy, and we become withdrawn and apathetic. Or we say to ourselves, with the good comes the bad, and I cannot separate the two. I am not special. I am unique, but I am not special. I am not exempt. Life does have loss. Part of life is loss. Part of life is death. And until I embrace that, I will stay in apathy, in misery, and withdrawal. Now, this doesn't make it easy. I'm not saying any of this is easy. I'm just saying this is the way it is. So, the next time you are in a great chaos, in a great loss, in a great upheaval, or perhaps you are right now, I want you to step back and understand. Every human is going to experience or has already experienced what you are experiencing. You are not special. So when you're feeling alone, feeling particularly at a loss, particularly ashamed, particularly feeling like a failure, understand every human being has or will go through what you are going through. See, the problem is that we are so in our ego, we don't share with anyone. We don't want to share. So we go through divorces, we don't share. We go through death, we don't share. We go through obesity, diabetes, cancer, our children's failures, our children's drug overdoses, and we don't share. Why? Because we're so afraid of judgment. We're so afraid of losing the status of perfection. So we don't share with anyone. And because we don't share, we don't realize how ubiquitous failure, loss, grief, betrayal, rejection is. If only we shared without guilt or shame, then we would understand, wow, this happens all the time. This is not just happening to me. But our ego of perfection, you see, our ego of not wanting to be weak in the eyes of the other, we don't share. Now, I as a therapist, I get the privilege of seeing that loss, rejection, betrayal, and death is ubiquitous. So when the Buddha was living in his palace, they tried to the story goes that they tried to cocoon him. They tried to keep him in the swaddled in the blankets of the illusion of life. That life was permanent, that life was blissful, that life was happy. So one day he happened to leave the palace, and that's when he confronted old age, death, poverty, and illness. And his mouth was agape, so the story goes. And he said to himself or his people, what is this? And they're like, life. And that was it, as the story goes. He left the palace. What that means is he left his ego of certainty. He left his ego of perfectionism. He left his ego of the trappings of attachment and luxury. And he went to search for the nature of nature and the nature of reality. He went to look for reality because he didn't want to be hidden from reality. He went to face it. And then he went on this journey, on this quest, and he became enlightened. So the story goes. It could just be all a story. But the teachings are invaluable, right? The teachings are invaluable. The teachings of how to reconcile this thing called life. This thing called life isn't just beautiful. And the beauty, you will always know, comes from the formless things in life. When do you feel the most blissful? When you're connected to yourself. That connection is formless. It doesn't come from your shoes. It doesn't come from your makeup. It doesn't come from your clothes. When else do you feel the most connected? When you're looking at something spectacular in nature. A sunset, the ocean, a fish, a bird, a flock of birds. Those moments in nature stupefy you because they're staggeringly, astoundingly beautiful. Nature, again, formless. Connection with your children, connection with your partner, connection with your heart. These are the things that stop you in your tracks and leave you breathless. Not the form, always the formless. So life is filled with the formless, but with this formless comes a lot of lack of form also, right? More lack of form. And that lack of form creates loss. Loss of health, loss of beauty, loss of youth, loss of a loved one. With that comes this. So you cannot have one without the other. And if we can embrace this, that life is this inherent loss, but also this inherent love. It is in the realm of the formless that life lies in, not in this form. Then we will understand that loss and death is part of this, right? And we will release. We will release our attachment. We will release our focus on wealth and status and money and things. And we will understand that it is in this formless place that life exists. And that includes loss. Loss is part of life. And it's just everywhere I see. Everywhere. And I see that the clients that face their loss with acceptance, without resistance, without creating a story that they are unlucky or that they are victims or that they are martyrs, those are the clients that rise from the loss. They can use the loss to open their heart. The reason that I love doing what I do is because with each story, with each pain portal, my heart becomes more and more empathic. I see my heart becoming bigger because I'm practicing loss with my clients, with myself. Practicing loss. Loss is everywhere you go. Even the sun, in a sense, gets lost. It sets, so-called sets. The earth moves and we don't see the sun anymore. That's a loss. Every night is the loss of the sun. Every morning is the loss of the moon. Every winter is the loss of the fall and the spring. Every fall, right? It's falls, meaning there's death. And then every spring is the loss of the winter. Loss is every single day of our lives. Every toddler is the loss of the infant. Every teenager is the loss of the child. Every adult is the loss of the teenager. Every middle-ager is the loss of the... So loss is always happening. You don't see it as much because you are willing to accept the next. Sometimes with final death, we're not willing to accept it because we don't see the next. But because we don't see the next, we think there is no next. And because we don't see the next and it's not with us anymore, the final death, we think that is just the most tragic thing. And it is on the form level. But if we could see that there is a next, it's just unseen, then maybe we'll have some solace. There is always something unseen. There is always something unseen. And there's a quote, I don't know who says it, but they say that the capacity for us to see the unseen is dependent on the clarity of our heart. The more clear our heart, the more we will unsee. We will be able to see the unseen. And it is in the capacity to see the unseen that is wisdom. You know, so every time my daughter is upset with me and she judges me a lot, I always tell her, what do you not see here? What is the story that you can't perceive here? It is in the untold and the unseen where we can touch each other's hearts and we can have compassion. And she says, that's not me, Mom. That's you. I go, I can see that you cannot be beyond the seen. I can see. But I try to teach her, go to the unseen, go to the untold, touch upon the formlessness of the universe, touch upon compassion, empathy, love, understanding, non-judgment, touch the wounds of each other. We are all wounded, coming to each other in pain. Pain is everywhere. Let's touch on the pain and understand that if we can heal and help each other in the pain of it, our entire world will heal. But all of us are running away from it, judging each other and judging ourselves. And this is why the world will look the way it does, because we're all running away from pain. Instead of leaning into pain and leaning into each other's pain and being there for each other, what we're doing is the opposite, because we cannot stand pain. Pain is so scary for us that we're running away from pain. You know, how many times have you heard people experience death and say, you know, I couldn't even talk to my friend whose father died because I didn't know what to say. Or I couldn't even talk to my friend whose partner died because I want to give her space. I don't know what to say. Why do we not know what to say? There is nothing to say. There is no strategy. There is no technique. All we need to do is hold each other in pain, hold space. But we cannot do it. We cannot do it with our children. We cannot do it with ourselves. And we are all running away from pain, numbing ourselves. And this is why the world looks the way it does. We're pretending as if no one is in pain. We're pretending as if all this can be taken away. If we just pray hard enough, eat well enough, drink a lot, look good enough, the pain will go away. But the truth is, the pain never goes away. The pain is always willing to come back, because this is life. Life is pain. So instead of running, the next time you're in pain, understand, no person has not or will experience the same kind of pain in their own unique way. You're not special. You are just like every other human. You will live, you will lose, you will be joyful, and you will die. In a nutshell. Different configurations of it, but it will happen. Longevity and old age is not guaranteed. It is not an indication of a better life. Life is lived in the present moment. So the next time you're in pain, instead of running away, wanting to numb it, distract, or erase it, waiting for a better time, instead, lean into it and ask, how can I grow from this? This is so painful, but how can I stay here? How can I be here? How can I just stay and experience this as a new evolution? Let me allow myself to go through it, and as we go through the tunnel, instead of running away, at the end of the tunnel is a completely new vista, a new country, a new terrain. But we're so afraid to go through the tunnel. And right now in this virus, we are all, to some degree or the other, in a unknown tunnel. And this unknown tunnel terrifies us. But I assure you, having done this only many hundreds of times with so many people, if we keep moving forward in the tunnel, sight unseen, we will learn that we don't need to see. We will learn that we don't need to have. We will learn that we don't need to do. And we will learn a new language, a language of trust, of surrender, of living in the present moment, of allowing pain to shed our attachments, of allowing ourselves to let go and release all the excess, and allow ourselves to enter a completely unknown territory. The unknown is here. It's not there, it's already here. We just have to wake up to it. And as we wake up to it, we realize, the unknown is always a part of life. I cannot control anything. I cannot control the loss of pain. Loss of pain is part of life. So I'm going to stop running away. I'm going to stop avoiding. And I'm going to say, bring it on. Let me lean into it. I, along with my tribe, can do this. And there is a tribe. You just have to find the right place, the right tribe, the right women, the right men to support you. Ask for help. Be vulnerable. Don't embrace perfectionism. Embrace its opposite, imperfectionism. Vulnerability. Here I am. I'm a mess. My life is a mess. Let's do this together. So if humanity rises, brothers and sisters rise, showing their pain, showing up for their pain, allowing pain, rather than pretending to be perfect, then we will realize that we are one. We are solidified in pain. We are together in pain. Pain doesn't escape anybody. Death will not escape anybody. There's death in every home. So when we understand that, we stop living in morbid fear of it. We say, when it's our time, I will lean into it. When I get into trouble or I feel pain or I feel loss, I understand it's now my turn. I will accept it with grace, not with entitlement, not with resentment, that why did life do this to me? I will enter this with grace. Life gave me, life will take away. And then it'll give again, and then it'll take away again. This is the cycle of life, like the seasons. Right now I'm in the season of the living, and tomorrow I'll be in the season of the losing, and then in the season of the grieving. These are all seasons. Accept and embrace the season you're in. Headstrong, powerful, courageous. It takes a lot of guts. I recently had a huge cycle in my life that terrified me. I wanted to run away. I was like, where can I go? How far is Hawaii? Are there any planes in Hawaii? But how to run? I'm taking me with me. If I could leave me behind, I'd go, but I have to go with me, which means I have to take my lessons with me, which means I have to take my regret with me, my pain with me. And I have to say, okay, how can I grow? What do I need to grow toward? What do I need to develop to survive this? And then I dug deeper. You didn't know I was going through this because I didn't share. Not because I was trying to be perfect, but you didn't know. You were there sitting there thinking, oh, she's so wise, she's so this. I may be wise, but I go through hell. So I dug and I dug and I dug, and I had to find courage to go through this. And the things that gave me courage was knowing hundreds of my clients have been through this. The other thing that gave me courage is that I've been through crap before. I've been through old crap, I can go through this crap. It's another tunnel. And together as a humanity, we're all going through a tunnel right now. But we're all going through it different ways, but together. We're all going through hell right now. We're all like, what the hell is going on? We're all experiencing some degree of PTSD depending on our load. If we had 100 bad things happen to us this year, this could be the straw that breaks our back. But don't feel like you're worse for doing that. Everyone is going to experience this tunnel in their own way, depending on the genetic and epigenetic load. But this is the way of life. We always are going through something, just at different places, faces, forms, and speeds. So it is here. You have the power. Let me tell you, you have more power than you realize. I'm not just an empty motivator. I know it from my own life. Each time I reached a dam and I said, this I cannot survive. I cannot survive this. I don't know how to survive this. I cannot. Somehow, after a few days, I dug deeper and I fell a few floors and I became stronger. And just again, when I thought I couldn't go deeper, I took a deep breath. I said, give me a few more days, and time does wonders, and then you go deeper. And you realize, wow, we have unending resilience. We just have to... And the more you have support, of course, the more power you have. But even without support, you within you have this. You just have to... Just as you think it's the end of the road, like you can't. You're like a child, you're like, take a deep breath and then just surrender. And surrender is the way to go deeper. Surrender feels like a defeat, but it isn't. It's grace. It's acceptance. It's release. I accept my pain. I lean into my pain. I accept. I accept. Right now it stinks. And then one day it'll stink less. And then it'll stink more. There is no escape. Read Pema Chodron's book, The Wisdom of No Escape. This is what my talk has been about today. No escape. No one is exempt. No exemptions in life. Loss is coming if it hasn't already. So instead of running, instead of hiding, instead of avoiding, rise up and go, I can take die. So along the way, let me live as alive as possible. Thank you everyone for listening. If you want a community and if you are a woman, you may want to join my community of women called Luminous. It's an intentional community, which is what I think is missing today. It's just $25 a month. You can join and be part of a strong sisterhood of women run by me and my two dear sisters, Greta and Susie, and together we offer you a model of sisterhood, and then you can replicate that model in the community. So join us. It's open only for another 2 weeks, and then it's going to close till the end of the year. It's called Luminous. The link should be in different places or on my website under courses. I hope to see you there. Thank you everyone, and I will see you back when I see you back. Join Leanne, join Luminous. Go to my website, go to courses, go to Luminous. You can do it just for a couple of coffees a month. It's so worth it. I'm so happy to see you all here. For you all on Instagram, if you want to catch all my other talks, if you are just tuning in, they're all on YouTube, they're all on Facebook, they're in my newsletter. I send it out every single day. So I hope to see you. Bye everyone. Bye, Gabrielle. Sorry, it was from... my finger. Sorry.